Hi again. Thanks for joining me today. Fon here. I'm going to have a go at building a new case for this transmitter. This is a radio controlled transmitter of mine, an older model, which has no case, hasn't had for many years. So I'm using my beloved green foam. So last night I made this into a box using hot glue and bamboo skewers. Kind of barbecue skewers driven in there, but I mainly used the hot glue. Obviously, I made sure it was big enough for this, and then for a bunch of sponge to go into it. So I've got a bunch of sponge cut to size to go on that. So I'll come back to you in a few minutes and let you see how I'm getting on. I already put on this clasp here for the front, and the basic technique I'm using is I'm getting some plywood. Here are my fixings. I'll use some or all of these, let's see. Might use some nylon straps as well. Basically my technique is just get your plywood, drill some holes in, put your fixing in, drill the holes, put your fixing in, whatever way you're doing it, and then just hot glue that on, even though there's a little nut and bolt poking through. I'm sure there are better techniques. If I had smaller blind nuts to put on the inside, I would, but I don't. And I feel that this should be plenty strong enough for this project. Okay, I'll let you see how I'm getting on in a few minutes. And I wanted to try and make this build even quicker and easier than the last one, which was the Mandolin case build, which went very well, but was a bit difficult because I was using acrylic and wood glue. This time, I'm simply going to use the wonderful iron-on covering, using either my specific aero modelling iron or my standard household iron. So that should make the whole process much quicker and easier when combined with hot glue. So here is one side of the hinge assembly about to be installed. See, I've just got literally a little nut and bolt. I'm going to hot glue that in like that. And the hinges come out like that. And they're going to attach onto that, which is going to attach onto the back of the lid. So the main structural part of the build is nearly finished. The hinges are installed, as you can see, and the clasp is installed at the front. So all I need to do now is attach this handle, and I may or may not do that as a back plate, and then I think I'll probably put some wood into the corners or something similar, just as a strength boost, reinforcement, and then it'll just be all about the finishing and the sponge and the painting. And yeah, this happens to be a case that I'm making for a radio controlled transmitter, but you could make yourself a case of any size, so long as it's not too big. This is just a quick, easy construction system for any custom shape that you want to make. Hit a little snag here, as often happens when you're doing projects. Look, even though we already know this clasp works, when I put the handle on, it's accidentally a bit too close. So I'm afraid rather than start again, I'm simply going to cut that off and round the edges there. Let's see if that works. Here we go, problem solved. But I am wondering as well if I need a slightly bigger handle. Or maybe that one's okay. I'm just doing some little bit of reinforcement in the corner. I didn't have any triangular cross-section wood hanging around in the workshop, so I used some of this stuff, plastic conduit, square plastic conduit piping. Unfortunately, it has a loose edge there. So all I did was I used a bit of duct tape, gaffer tape, and stopped the sliding from happening, and used the hot glue to glue in, and there we go, corners reinforced. But I would recommend, if you're doing this yourself, I would recommend get some triangular cross-section wood, or just some wood and glue it in there. So if you look at this transmitter here, it's got a slightly unusual shape at the end. So what I did was I just to custom make the case for myself, I cut away the bottom a bit and a slot in the middle so that it can easily go like this. I put that protruding bit in first, and then it just easily slots in. Snug as a bug in a rug. So I'm going to take these pieces of sponge out now, spray paint them red, glue them in, and I'm also going to be ironing on a bunch of this laminate covering to make it strong inside and out. And that should be the job done then, hopefully. So on all the pieces of sponge, I've labelled the underneath, top and bottom, or left and right, so that I can now go outside and spray paint the other sides. These 3 dots I've cut a little cross in because that's where they'll be touching these control surfaces, so I've left a little hole for them to go into there. But I'll go and spray paint these red. If I wanted to be even more thorough and do a longer job, I could get sort of sponge-safe glue, for example epoxy. But I want to just do this quick and easy, so I'll use my hot glue gun. And what I found was that if I did big, slow lines of glue, it didn't really stick to the sponge. So the best result I got was a bunch of little dabs directly onto the sponge. That's actually stuck very strongly. So I'm just going to pull this off with difficulty, but you see I did like a dot pattern onto the sponge, and then it stuck to both surfaces very, very well. That's hard to remove, it's tearing the sponge away. And lucky for me, as a proud aero modeler, I've got an aero modeler's iron set up quite hot. I'm at 150 here. Little correction to something I said before, I had the temperature around 150. I had to do a little repair here. 150 is a bit too hot. 120 is fine, so long as you don't stay around too long. I found that the standard iron wouldn't fit in. You could either use a smaller iron or perhaps a hot gun, or just buy yourself one of these. This is only 12 or 15 quid a few years back off Amazon or eBay. Heavily recommended. But you can get in at the corners and see in there and stuff. And I'm actually using laminate covering plastic today because it's very easy to find and it's very cheap. But you can also use aero modelling film. There are plenty of great tutorials on YouTube. I even did a little one myself. But notice I've done little cutouts for the corners here, so that's going to go down and around like that. That's going to go like that, and there's no kind of conflict at the corner here. I'm going to cut this away and leave the bare wood. I'm going to cut this away and leave the bare wood. That's going to go round, and that's going to go round. If you wanted to go stronger again, you'd glue on polyester covering, polyester dress lining covering with wood glue. If you wanted to go even stronger again, use plywood for the outer edges of all of your case. Okay, here we are at the end of this project, a custom case for anything. In my case, it was a radio control transmitter. You could make it for anything. I'm sure there are better ways, but this is an easy-ish, quickish way. Here you go. Very happy with that. Had to make little holes so that it wasn't pressing on the relevant bits here. Also, I did the decent thing and I went back to the shop and got a bigger handle and put a bigger piece of plywood here to anchor it onto. Spray painted the sponge red, and Bob is your uncle. Very happy with that. Can I close this one-handed? Yes. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. All the best. God bless. Cheers. Bye.